Meanwhile, back in the U.S., actor Alec Baldwin breaking his silence in his first sit-down interview since the shooting that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the movie Rust. Watch this.
Wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them, never.
How did a real bullet get on that set?
I have no idea. Someone put a live bullet in a gun, a bullet that wasn't even supposed to be on the property.
He said he did not pull the trigger. The film's director, Joel Souza, was also wounded in the October incident. Baldwin says this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to him, obviously. We'll wait for more on that interview. Time for the word on Wall Street. Top investors watching your money. Joining me right now is Mahoney Asset Management CEO Ken Mahoney, UBS Financial Services Private Wealth Advisor Ali McCartney, and Anderson Capital Management Chief Investment Officer Peter Anderson. Great to see everybody this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Ali, kicking things off with you. Markets are pointing to a pretty good gain this morning after another rocky day yesterday. We got a gain of 320 points right now after a decline of 461 points yesterday on the Dow, on the first confirmed Omicron case in the United States. Of course, there's also the Jay Powell comments on inflation. He doubled down, telling lawmakers that it's appropriate for the Fed to consider an accelerated taper. But of course, the other day, Ali, as you know, he said it is time to retire the word transitory, suggesting inflation will be here for some time. Are you worried about stepping into markets within all of this volatility?
I am not, and I will explain why, but let's talk about the volatility that you just highlight. Over the past 4 days, 3 of those 4 days have been major down days. 1 has been an up, and within the days, they've been super volatile. And basically what's going on is, as professional investors, we're pretty good at qualitatively and quantitatively analyzing the known knowns and the known unknowns. But what happened on Monday and earlier on Friday, too, is we basically got 2 unknown unknowns. We have a new variant where we have very little data, very little understanding about how the given vaccines and treatments affected, how virulent it is. And then at the exact same time, we had the narrative of the Fed change with exactly those 2 words, the sort of removal of the word transitory and another version of a taper tantrum where Powell came in and said that they were going to accelerate the asset tapering, which I think is important. But what's more important is the market assuming that that means that we are bringing forward rate increases. So the market is now pricing in not 1 but 2 rate increases in 2022. And this sent sellers into a frenzy and evaporated buyers. And the moral of this story is this is what happens when you have known unknowns. Sellers come in, they take profits, crowded trades and hedge funds get liquidated, and you have a buyer's strike at the same time, which sends the market down. Now, our base case is that both of these known unknowns fade into the base case that we've all been talking about, which is the Omicron variant fades into the Delta variant, and that the policies and protocols that we already have established continue to work, and the medical and biotech community adapt very quickly, as they have all throughout this, and that the Fed continues to be supportive and global Feds continue to be supportive. So please, please, please don't sell. If you're really scared, get into defensive sectors that can protect you, like healthcare, but think long term and don't let this bout of volatility take you off your long-term plan.
All right, so you're still bullish long-term, and you want to be finding opportunities. One of the big stories, Ken, was oil. Crude prices rising this morning ahead of the OPEC Plus decision whether it will release more oil into the market or restrain supply due to the Omicron fears and the U.S. release from the strategic reserves. But, you know, we had a sell-off of 13% on Friday. We're looking at crude now at $66.21 a barrel. Your thoughts on the energy trade right now, Ken?
Well, first off, it's not a very good look to go to Glasgow and be the lead as renewables, and then 24 hours later ask OPEC for more oil, right? We went from energy independent to energy dependent in about 12 minutes. And here we are, like the Carter administration all over again, begging OPEC. They hate us. Many of those members do not like the U.S. So to think kind of here we are, like everything this administration done, it's with such haste. I mean, you saw what happened in Afghanistan, no transition. No transition from fossil fuels to renewables. Look, I would love to be driving around with a solar panel in my car and driving around. We're not there yet. And to tank the economy because of this obsession of taking the AOC's Green Deal and so forth. We're not there yet. We'd love to be there. We're not there yet. But really, it's crazy that we're now energy dependent on OPEC, and these partners, this cartel, do not like us to begin with.
Yeah, and they won't admit that that's one of the reasons that oil is where it is. I mean, you know, Biden is blaming the energy companies. And isn't it extraordinary that these oil companies, this is what they do. They drill for oil. They sell oil. They're changing their businesses incredibly. They're completely changing their business and not investing in what they've done since their inception.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's about investment. Look, we could blend it in. I think we blend in some renewable along with, you know, the fossil fuels. But go from one to the other, it's, again, there has to be transition time. And that's one thing this administration, again, it's up against the clock, midterm election. If they can't get it in, either they're going to fight it as best they can because they know the clock is ticking.
Well, the clock's also ticking on regulatory changes for Bitcoin and crypto, Peter. Bitcoin falling below $57,000 on news of this Omicron variant. You say you're concerned about crypto in the long run and its impact to the global economy. Why?
Well, Maria, whenever I make an investment for a client, it's my fiduciary obligation to look into that investment and learn as much as I possibly can. And to borrow a phrase from the great Gatsby regarding crypto, you know, it's discussed by many, talked about by many, but understood by very few. And people just don't really get into the mathematics and the basis of all of crypto. And when you do, I have spent some time doing that, you come up with some very surprising conclusions. I mean, let me just give you one example. And it's hard to stay at a layperson's level when you're talking about this, but I'll give you one example. There's something called Taproot that is an enhancement and the privacy for users, all right? And the way they decided to adopt and accept Taproot was by crowdsourcing. So there's not even a formal policy group. When you want to make changes for Bitcoin, for instance, there's not a policy group that you would go to and get conformity. Instead, you just poll all the miners out there. So can you imagine, let me just give you one example of a possible disaster.
Yeah.
There's a limit on how many Bitcoin you can have, 21 million. What if people decide one day they wake up and they say, hey, you know what? I want to have 30 million. Well, just think of what impact that would have on the entire Bitcoin atmosphere out there. And so those are the things that really worry me. And, you know, I'm not saying it's going to crash now, but in several years, if this does continue to gain momentum, I think that we could have some real problematic issues.
Wow. Well, it's complete opposite from what Mark Yusko was just talking about as the economy transitions to a digital assets economy. Great insight from all of you. Ken Mahoney, Allie McCartney, and Peter Anderson, great to see you. Thank you so much for the word on Wall Street this morning. We'll slip into a short break. Much more ahead this morning. Coming up, travel restrictions.